Hey there, quiet storm. Sit down for a second, listen for a moment, because today isn't like any other day. You might not expect someone to speak to you this directly, but this is something you need to hear without hesitation. People talk about him like he's some dangerous force, like he's a beast, a problem, someone nobody wants to cross. They treat him as if nothing scares him. Nothing gets under his skin, and nothing can shake the walls he built around himself. But the truth is, you are the one person who can break through all of that. You're the one person who could bring him to his knees without even trying. And the unbelievable part is that you don't even see the power you carry. You keep telling yourself you're just trying your best, just moving through life like everyone else, while someone who intimidates everyone around him is terrified at the thought of losing you. That alone should show you something about yourself that you keep forgetting. Malast, you move through the world in a way most people don't. You speak differently, you carry yourself differently, and your presence alone has the ability to shift the atmosphere. It's not about being physically strong or throwing punches. It's about the way you make people face parts of themselves they've spent their whole lives running away from. He can act tough, wild, unstoppable, like nothing can hurt him. But the moment your name crosses his mind, inside him starts shaking, because you're not weak. You're not overly emotional. You're not too forgiving. You're the kind of person whose absence is louder than any attack, whose silence can feel like a wound, and whose disappointment can break even the hardest person without saying a single word. The world may fear him, but he fears losing you. Let that truth settle deep inside you. Millions. People rarely tell you that real power isn't dramatic or loud. It doesn't always show up in big gestures or intense moments. The strongest kind of power is quiet. It sits in your loyalty, in your consistency, and in the way your heart keeps showing up, even when you feel exhausted. People like you, those who love deeply, move with intention, and carry quiet strength, are the ones that shake even the strongest individuals. Not because you can hurt them, but because you have the rare ability to make them feel something real in a world full of masks and performance. That's what terrifies them. Not bullets, not danger, not failure. Genuine emotion. And yet, you keep shrinking yourself. You keep downplaying who you are. You try to stay small, stay simple, stay low maintenance, as if your presence doesn't change people. But the truth is, some of the strongest people you'll ever meet lose sleep worrying that you might stop caring about them. You don't realize how much it matters to people who've never truly been seen before. You don't understand how deeply your absence can hit someone who finally experienced something real with you. Your energy, your attention, your presence, those things stay with people long after you've left the room. You are far more powerful than you think, and the world around you has been reacting to that power long before you ever noticed it. Land, you think he looks like a beast because of the way he carries himself out in the world, but that isn't why he truly becomes one. He becomes that way because he knows exactly what losing you would do to him. You bring him a sense of clarity that life stole from him a long time ago. You remind him of a version of himself he thought he could never be again. Around you, he can't pretend. He can't hide behind that hard exterior. He can't act like nothing affects him. You stop him in his tracks. You disarm him without trying. You pull the mask off without saying a word. And when someone like you has that effect on someone like him, everyone around notices. Because people like him don't break easily. They don't shake for just anyone. They don't panic over random faces or random goodbyes. But you, one moment of silence from you, one shift in your energy, one decision to walk away, could collapse everything he built. And he knows that. That's why he handles you differently. That's why he thinks before he speaks. That's why your opinion of him cuts deeper than the judgment of an entire crowd. Ever notice how someone who seems fearless becomes vulnerable only when he's standing in front of you? How someone who never bows under pressure suddenly folds at the sound of your disappointment. It's because you aren't just another person in his life. You're the one weakness he can't explain and can't defend himself against. You're the one battle he can't win with strength or intimidation. You're the one truth he can't outrun. But here's the part nobody ever tells you. Having the power to break someone like him doesn't make you harmful. It makes you rare. It makes you irreplaceable. People built like him don't meet someone like you twice in a lifetime. And that's why the idea of losing you terrifies him. He knows he could survive every struggle, every fight, every setback, except the day you stop believing in him. So stop acting like you don't matter. Stop shrinking yourself. Stop telling yourself you're replaceable. You aren't, and deep down he knows that better than anyone. You're the reason he softens. You're the reason his walls crack. You're the reason the beast he pretends to be falls away, and he becomes human again. You think you're just trying to hold your life together, just trying to stay loyal, just trying not to fall apart. And meanwhile, this man, this so-called beast, feels an entire emotional earthquake every time you breathe in his direction. Everyone else is intimidated by him, stepping aside when he walks by like he's a warning sign. But you're the only one who makes him feel like the ground under him might shift. You're the only one who makes him rethink how he talks, how he acts, who he wants to be. If you ever look closely at his eyes, when he looks at you, you can see it, the small flicker of fear, the silent plea that says, "Please don't disappear on me." That kind of influence isn't something you accidentally stumble into. It's something built into your nature. It's in the way you care quietly, the way you listen without judging, the way you show up, even when you're carrying your own exhaustion. Bandas. People like him aren't built to receive love that genuine. It exposes every weakness he spent his entire life hiding behind anger, pride, toughness, or bravado. That's why he changes around you. That's why his voice softens. That's why his shoulders relax. That's why the tough guy act melts instantly when you say his name with a certain tone. That's not him losing control. That's him surrendering to something he doesn't know how to handle. And even though he pretends it isn't a big deal, he's terrified that you'll one day realize just how strong your pull is and walk away, because he knows that your detachment would hit harder than anything life has ever thrown at him. He can fight enemies, survive chaos, face danger, and handle pressure, but he can't handle you choosing not to care anymore. That's the one battle where he loses every time, and he knows it. Meanwhile, you keep underestimating yourself. You keep believing you're the fragile one, the one who's too emotional, or too complicated, or too easy to break. But in reality, you're the one who changes the emotional atmosphere of anyone who gets close to you. You don't just enter someone's life, you rearrange it. You push people to grow, to face themselves, to evolve. And that scares them, because growth hurts, especially for someone who built their entire identity around being unshakable. It's wild how you think you're the one who's weak, while the strongest person in the room folds emotionally every time you pull away even an inch. That's not fragility. That's emotional gravity. That's influence they can't duplicate or replace or forget. Even if life drags him through fire, you're still the one thing he can't control. He can dominate rooms, but he can't dominate your heart. He can intimidate the world, but not you. And you stand there holding the one thing he can't strategize, like his way around, the choice to stay or to walk away. Bullion, that's why he watches you closely. That's why he pays attention to your moods even when he pretends he isn't. That's why he circles back after disagreements and cares about your thoughts, even when he tries to act indifferent. Because you aren't part of the world he battles every day. You're the one place he doesn't want to lose. You're the one person whose presence changes everything. Mayn't it? You are the part of him he never believed he deserved, yet somehow became the one thing he needs more than anything else. You remind him that beneath all the armor, the attitude, and the hardness, he is still human. And that truth scares him more than anything he has ever faced out in the world. That is why he behaves differently with you. That is why his whole energy shifts when you speak. That is why he keeps trying even after he promises himself he's done trying. That is why he stays, even though he's convinced he works better alone. What he feels around you isn't weakness, it's exposure. And for someone who has spent years hiding every crack in his spirit, exposure feels dangerous. Yet he lets you see what nobody else has ever seen. You're the only one who notices the cracks he tried to weld shut. You're the only one who could widen them or help them heal. You're the only person whose smallest choices can rearrange his entire emotional foundation. A simple change in your tone, a shift in your energy, or a quiet withdrawal of affection can shake him from the inside out, and he feels that every time he looks at you or waits for your reaction, he'll never admit it out loud, because acknowledging it would mean recognizing that you affect him more deeply than anyone else, not in a dramatic or overwhelming way, but in the quiet places he normally keeps guarded. And the surprising thing is, you're not trying to impact him at all. You're not manipulating him or pushing for a reaction. You simply show up with a calm, steady presence, a kind of grounded energy that doesn't compete with his intensity. And somehow, that alone makes this normally confident man feel unsure in ways he isn't used to. Lend. He moves through the world with boldness, but around you he becomes more careful, more aware. You might notice it in small moments. The way he checks your face to make sure he didn't say something too sharp. The way his voice softens when he thinks he may have upset you. He can speak bluntly to everyone else without hesitation, but the idea of hurting you makes him pause. Your opinion matters to him more than he would ever openly admit. He's never dealt with this before. People usually tiptoe around him, avoid challenging him, or treat him with a kind of distance. But you don't shrink back. You don't respond to his intensity with fear or defensiveness. You simply hold your ground in a quiet, steady way. And that unsettles him, not in a negative way, but in a way that makes him rethink the walls he's built. Bonds, it isn't about romance or labels. It's something deeper, an unexpected sense of being understood. You see qualities in him he doesn't often show, and that level of recognition is unfamiliar. Vulnerability isn't easy for him, and he doesn't always know what to do with the feelings that surface around you. Mons, he can face challenges, responsibilities, and pressures without blinking. But hearing you say, "That bothered me," affects him in a different way. It makes him look inward, toward emotions he often avoids. And even though that can be uncomfortable, it also means that he genuinely values your presence in his life. Planned. What he doesn't tell you is how much he notices the little things, your tone, your expressions, your silences. He thinks about conversations long after they end. He checks his phone and then pretends he wasn't hoping to hear from you. He adjusts his behavior without making a big deal of it. because he truly doesn't want to lose your respect or connection. Mond. If you ever truly pulled away, it would impact him more deeply than he would ever let on. Not because he's fragile, but because you reach parts of him he didn't expect anyone to reach. You remind him of the version of himself he rarely shows, and that alone is meaningful to him, you know? And you don't even realize it. You say something simple, something honest, and it touches a part of him he keeps quiet. He might brush it off or smile like it didn't faze him. But inside, he's thinking about it, processing it, trying to understand why it mattered so much. Pelanger, it's not that he's soft. It's that your presence brings out a depth in him he didn't know he was ready to face. Belind, he built that hard exterior because life forced him to. That tough, unshakable persona people see is really just the armor he learned to wear so he wouldn't get crushed by everything he survived. Survival instinct, his way of staying upright in a world that never gave him a soft place to land. But with you, that armor doesn't stay on. It falls away without you even asking for it. Something about your presence makes him feel exposed in a way that's both comforting and terrifying. It leaves him emotionally unguarded, stripped of all the defenses he spent years constructing. And that kind of vulnerability makes him feel unsteady, unsure, human, in a way no one ever prepared him for. When he hears your voice, the anger or chaos he was holding on to dissolves like it was never there. When your name appears on his screen, his body shifts before he can stop it, as if he's bracing himself for impact while also craving whatever connection is coming next. Beance. He'll argue with you and pretend he's fine afterward, but the truth is that it sticks with him for days. He can face conflict with anybody else without a second thought, but conflict with you unsettles him in ways he can't admit. Your disappointment hits him in the same place. Fear used to live. He tries to hide it, acting cold or distant, pretending he's busy or unfazed, thinking you won't see through it, but you always do. And the moment he senses you're actually pulling away, everything inside him shifts. His tone softens, his energy changes, and there's this almost desperate steadiness in the way he approaches you, like he's trying to hold on to something that suddenly feels like it's slipping out of his hands. He isn't afraid of rejection in general. He's been rejected, abandoned, betrayed, underestimated until he went numb to most of it. But losing you is different. He has no defense for that. You're the one place he never built a wall. And that alone is enough to terrify him. You walked into his life without trying to change him, without shrinking in his presence, without competing with him, and without feeding the ego he uses to protect himself. You spoke to him like a person when everyone else treated him like a threat. You gave him softness that didn't come from weakness, understanding that didn't come with excuses, patience that didn't let him take advantage, care that didn't beg, and accountability that didn't humiliate. Nobody else offered all of that at once. Nobody even came close. That's why you got under his skin. That's why you stayed there. That's why the thought of losing you shakes him in places he pretended didn't exist. Because you don't just matter to him. You stabilize the parts of him he thought were steady. You calm storms he convinced himself were gone. You reach emotions he swore were dead. You bring up insecurities he buried so deeply he forgot where he put them. You pull out the humanity he thought he lost a long time ago. He hates that. He loves that. It scares him. It anchors him. And the wildest part is, he knows you could break him without ever trying. With a shift in your tone, a moment of quiet, or by caring a little less than you did the day before. Spend You don't need to yell, threaten, or walk away. Your emotional distance alone is enough to shake him in places nothing else ever reached. Because you're not his weakness. You're the mirror he never had. The one reflection that shows him he's still capable of being better, softer, real, and that terrifies him just as much as it comforts him. Even the way you look at him gets under his skin. You don't look at him with fear, awe, hatred, or envy like other people do. You look at him with this steady, clear, unshaken recognition. Like you see the person beneath the damage, beneath the reputation, beneath the armor. That quiet "I see you" presence hits him in a place he didn't even know could still feel anything. And that's what makes you different. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what makes him afraid to ever lose you.